Hey y'all, today I'm going to be showing you a quick trick that I kind of may have came up with myself. I'm not sure if other people have used this, but this is just the method that I came up with on my own. And this essentially allows you to turn these low poly models into higher poly models while kind of keeping their form. And this is probably best working with like these more hard surface type models that you see here. Now, here I have a helmet that I ripped from Space Marine 1. You can see all the jagged edges here. If you're trying to 3D print something like this, like using solidify modifier, then it's going to have all these jagged edges that you're gonna have to sand off manually. And it's just you're just creating a lot of work for yourself. Now, you might be inclined to try and use a subdivision surface, but you can see that like it really messes up some of the topology, or at least the detail. I mean, the topology is fine, but you don't want your helmet to look like this generally. So we're going to get rid of that modifier here, and instead what we're going to do is apply a auto smooth modifier. Now if you're in any other versions of Blender, you might have it wherever if you just right click, then it auto applies the modifier in Blender, or at least in this version of Blender that I have, it will not auto apply it. It's said for some reason as a modifier now. I'm just going to turn it off in the edit viewport, and what we're going to do is go ahead and apply this. And now you can see, that it has applied itself, and it shows you all the sharp edges on the model. Now, what you want to go ahead and do is just select all of the edges that you want to be sharp in the final version of the model. So, for example, I want to have a clear boundary line where the eyes are of the helmet. And I also don't want this section over here to be sharp. Just make sure that it's like that. Also, these tubes, as you can see, it's applied the modifier there just because of the angle limit that I set. Now, it's a bit too harsh. These are supposed to be circular, but for some reason because of that angle limit, it's applied here. So what I'm going to do is select a segment on all of these parts and hit Control L. Now if I press P, then I should be able to separate the tubes as their own entity, and then I can fix them up later. But for now, we're just going to hide those. We're going to focus on the main helmet. Now, what I'm going to do is just have a look over to make sure that everything I've selected is what I actually want to be sharp. So these will not be sharp. I will keep them as smooth. And once I think I've done a good enough job, what I'm going to do is select any one of these sharp edges, and what you're going to do is hit Shift G. Now this will allow you to select any sort of edge and make sure that you're in edge mode with a similar property. So if I select sharpness, that means it'll select every single sharp edge on this model, and you won't have to manually select anything. Now what you're going to do is hit N on your keyboard, and you're going to see this slide over here that says mean crease. We're just going to drag that all the way up to 1. Now what the mean crease property does is essentially, that means that this will keep its shape even if a subsurface modifier is applied. So now what I'm going to do, just for demonstration, is turn off that auto smooth modifier, right? And what I can do now is hit the generate a subdivision surface. I can turn up the levels, and you can see that it is essentially the exact same shape with very little artifacts. Now there might be some areas where it's going to be a little bit rounded, like you can see here in this vent opening at the top. It's kind of rounded itself. What I can do is just turn up the mean crease, and then here as well. It hasn't done as much of a good job here, and that's mainly due to the fact that this is an open area. But if I were to close this face and do that same mean crease modifier, or that same mean crease property, then it should look much better. But yeah, this is going to get you a very good result. Obviously, you're going to have to figure out how to clean up some artifacts. I know that and I did this on a different model, if you try and create kind of a square vent here, then it kind of messed up some of the topology that you might have to go in and manually fix. But for the most part, this is a very quick way of doing that. I can just go ahead and apply it and use a solidify modifier. and though it is very rough, you can see it has done a decent job. And then ideally you'd remesh this just to make sure that it is in fact watertight, and then it should be great for 3D printing. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is for the tutorial. Thanks for watching.